All right, so we are back. UFC 298 just finished, and in the main event, the question that everyone had, is this really Ilia Topuria's time, or is Alexander Volkanovski going to once again do what he does to other competitors in the 145 division, and that is reign over them? Well, the question just got answered, and I still have one question of my own. What just happened? The breakdown. Let's go. So like I said, UFC 298, fantastic card. We saw a ton of good fights and then some that were a little bit underwhelming. We did see Amanda Lemos and Mackenzie Dern scrapping it out for 3 rounds. Pretty sure Mackenzie Dern broke her nose and still kept fighting. What a fucking gangster. Then we had a fun fight that turned into complete dominance with Henry Cejudo and Merab, can't say his last name, not going to try because I'm going to butcher it. Dvalishvili? Where Henry rocked him in the first round, put him down. It was looking pretty good, but as the fight went on, it was pretty clear that Merab was not only the better fighter, had the better gas tank, Henry's age was catching up to him, but also Merab was just toying with one of the greatest combat sports athletes we've ever seen. And that, for anybody at 135 pounds, is terrifying. He gets the win. Then we had, let's be honest, a little bit of a stinker between Jeff Neal and Ian Gary. A very cautious fight from Ian Gary, but one that he got the job done in. You know, Jeff Neal couldn't really figure out how to get past kind of the range of Ian Gary. He's so tall, and he utilizes those kicks that aren't necessarily measured with the reach that we get pre-fight, but his kick game was on point today, and he did what he had to do to get a win, but he also, in his post-fight presser, called out Colby Covington. I like that fight, mainly because of the build-up. The fight itself, we'll see, but he's going to have to take those fights to get to the belt, and Colby is not in a position to challenge for the belt once again, so I like it, man. Let's run that one. Why not? Co-main event was a banger, and I'm talking back and forth fight. It was a close fight, but also I was labeled as controversial for saying this, but I thought that Robert Whittaker won every round of that fight. I thought it was 30-27. And yeah, there were all 3 close rounds, or at least 1 and 2 were close. But it comes down to round 1, and just like the MMA online community is, everyone acts like the fucking sky is falling when you disagree with them. But the majority of the round was won by Robert Whittaker. He outstruck Paulo Costa in significant strikes by a number of like 10 or 11 more throughout the entirety of the round. And yes, he got hit with an absolute bomb at the end of the round. Spinning heel kick separated him from his senses to a degree. He was still on his feet, but you could tell he was wobbled, he was rocked. And yes, you can say he was saved by the bell, and I'll probably agree with you. I don't know if he ends up finishing that fight if the round's 30 seconds long. But the round wasn't 30 seconds longer. And I don't score rounds by what happens next when the bell rings. I score rounds based on what happened during. And yes, the most damaging strike in the round was landed by Paulo Costa. But I didn't know a round was scored by the single most significant strike. The way I understand it is that damage, yes, is the top priority and the top criteria, but continuous damage versus one shot, yes, wobbled, yes, hurt badly at the end of the round, that, in my opinion, doesn't win you the entirety of the 5 minutes. The work leading up to that from Robert Whittaker, I thought was enough, but take it how you want it, whatever. Either way, Robert Whittaker wins the fight. I thought Paulo looked good. I thought his jab was snappy. He was quick. He was fast with his leg kicks. The problem with Paulo Costa, 1, is inactivity. He's not fighting much. He hasn't fought for the last 2 years. 2 is his lack of responsibility defensively. He stands on the center line, doesn't move his head, and just continuously leans back to get caught with jabs, right hands, leg kicks, pretty much whatever you want to attack him with. He's not blocking it or slipping and countering it. He's taking it, staying in range, and then firing off his shots. It's at the top of any division, you don't win by playing the trading game. You win by having better defensive to offensive transition and responsibility. So big win for Robert Whittaker there. A lot of people, the streets, talking about potentially Deshaun Strickland versus Face Sensei, a.k.a. Robert Whittaker. I would like the fight. I don't mind it. I don't know what they're doing with Sean right now. I don't know if they're going to give him the immediate rematch with Dricus or if that's going to be Israel Adesanya. Regardless, Robert's right there, still in the mix at 85, and like I said, I'd like to see it. Then we get to our main event, and here is where we come to that question I asked at the beginning. What just happened? Well, the answer is exactly what I told you would happen. Leo, just do me a favor and run the clip of my prediction for the main event in the prediction video from this week.
I think that Topuria is willing to take some of those leg kicks, right? Even get that leg chewed up to a degree to stand in the pocket, make the reads, look for that jab, look for whatever he wants to see, whatever thing he's trained to see, and go, all right, that's where I can catch him. And I think it's going to be the jab. I think that Volkanovski is going to continue to pop that jab out. And not that he does it lazily, because he never does. But at some point, Topuria is going to get off center, and that right hand's going to trigger behind it. I can see Topuria hurting him and putting him away. I think that genuinely This is going to shock a lot of people, even though I am seeing a little bit of a Topuria wave right now, which happens during fight week. But I think that Volkanovski is going to have a great fight plan, is going to start this fight out really well, win the first round, probably the first couple. And at some point, in my opinion, he's going to see where that jab is coming from. He's going to take some leg kicks. But when you throw those leg kicks, you do open up lanes down the middle, over the top, where the counter shot's coming back. And I think at some point, he's going to land right hand over, left hand to the body, right hand back over. I think it's going to wobble the champ. And honestly, I think that he's going to put Alexander Volkanovski away here.
Bar for bar, word for word, I called this. I told you guys that there was a couple of factors around this. Yes, Alexander Volkanovski coming off a head kick knockout. Yes, him being 35 plus, the age 35 plus curse. Yes, the EA Sports UFC 5, thank you, by the way, for the sponsorship on the live stream and the video last week. Potential athlete cover curse and the prime curse and all these things that if you're superstitious, you can believe in. But what I believed in was the game plan, timing, technique, skill, patience, and power of Ilia Topuria. And that's what he showed in this fight. I told you guys, round one, Volk was going to make things look like the old Volk. The leg kicks down low, the jab, the heavy volume, the feints, the switch and stance. And I thought Ilia Topuria would be patient, and he would be on his front foot, and he would stalk Volkanovski, and he would walk him down and take his opportunities when they were there, but also not be over-aggressive, not be overzealous, especially early. I told you guys I thought Alexander Volkanovski would win rounds early, and that's exactly what he did. He takes the first round based on the things we just talked about, the leg kicks, the body kicks, trying to keep the fight at jab and kick range, where he wasn't in danger of getting hit with that right hand. But one of the big things you saw in this fight, and one of the things that became glaringly obvious in round two, is that Volk was, instead of slipping shots, sliding out of range, changing angles, there was a lot of backward pedaling, chin in the air, high guard to parry, and also maybe block a head kick that's still in his head from the Islam Makhachev fight, but also a low lead hand after his jab. Everything here, and just coming straight back down by his hip. Told you guys at a certain point, those leg kicks, those body kicks, those straight line attacks, the jab, all those things from Volkanovski were going to set up holes in his own defense, and Ilia Topuria was going to look to execute over the top of them. When Volkanovski started to kick in the second round, Ilia started to move closer. Jab, right hand, left hook, triggers off the jab and started throwing combinations, and finally, it happened. Volkanovski defensively backing away, but offensive at the same time, which he's fantastic at, but popping his jab out, and Topuria sees it, triggers exactly what I said in the video. Right hand, left hook to the body, right hand over the top. He didn't miss the third shot, the second right hand, so he frames, then another right hand on the chin, and the lights went out in the Honda Center right here 20 minutes away in Anaheim, California. Volkanovski gets put to sleep. At least for a short period of time. He was out cold, slumped on the ground. And Ilia Topuria, we talked about it last week. He has this Conor McGregor-esque aura. He had this superstar in the making mentality. And while he's not the greatest English speaker, you can just see he has it. And whether that it is the big power in his right hand, the self-belief, the confidence, or just the execution of all three, Ilia Topuria got it done. And at 27, I think, years old, he is the champion of the 145-pound division. Volkanovski, obviously now, one win in his last three, 35. We talked about the curse there. Luckily, he was okay and got to his feet, got an interview after the fight and said he wants to do the rematch, and I don't think that's going to happen. And the way Volk was talking about his inactivity the last time and everything else that went along with that, it's a little scary to think about what's next for him, but for now, time away and time to heal is probably the best option. And in the meantime, you have the new champ, Ilia Topuria, talking about it's his time, his reign, a new era in the UFC. You have to believe he's going to be around in this division for a while. And he gets on the mic, and I'm not a big fan of doing this because everybody seems to do it. He calls out Conor McGregor and says, listen, I'm the new star in the UFC. Let's do it in Spain. Conor, if you still got balls, bring him to Spain with you. It's a decent enough call out, but again, it's like, is it realistic? Is Conor going to 45? I don't think he could ever make that weight again. But maybe he doesn't need to and they want to do a super fight. I don't know. But what I do know is there's a lot of ready challengers at 45, and him winning the belt does freshen up the scene a bit, right? Max Holloway now can come in and potentially challenge for that belt. We'll see what happens in the Justin Gaethje fight. Yair Rodriguez now has a new lease on life. Brian Ortega is still there. Josh Emmett is still knocking fools dead. There's a lot of guys at 45 that potentially can reach up and challenge the new champion, and we go through a whole new cycle of competition, which I enjoy. But fantastic main event, fantastic fights down the card. UFC 298 shaped out perfect. 299's looking great. Just announced UFC 300's main event, which I know a lot of people are going to go because it is Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill, which I think was originally supposed to be the UFC 301 main event in Brazil, but I guess they could not get the names like Conor McGregor, John Jones, or anybody else to be a part of this card. It is what it is. I still think this is going to be a banger card. And for the people that are like, well, UFC 200 was so big and we needed it to be the same. And while, yes, there was probably a little bit of overhyped nature of the card from the UFC, to be fair, I do think it's a little silly to act like this card is not a stacked card when it clearly is. And for those people that are wondering, the last time we had a 100 card, right, the 200 card was main evented by Amanda Nunes and Miesha Tate. But in today's day and age, with social media being what it is and the hyperfixation on things like this, the MMA community, and to be fair, the level of fighting we have now, because fight sports has never been bigger, has never been more talented, the MMA community is a bit spoiled, so they're lashing out. But I like the card. I loved this one. You guys let me know what you think down in the comments. UFC 298 is in the books. What was your favorite fight? What was your favorite performance? What happens next for the new champ at 145 pounds, Ilia the Matador Topuria? I don't have those answers, but guess we'll find out.